Welcome. Today is Saturday, January 26, 2019. Here's what's what. Imperial researchers have devised a way to deposit metals onto fabrics and used it to insert sensors and batteries into these materials. A team of researchers from Imperial College London have developed an innovative technique to print metals such as silver, gold, and platinum onto natural fabrics. They have also shown that the technique could be used to incorporate batteries, wireless technologies, and sensors into fabrics like paper and cotton textiles. Ultimately, these technologies could be used for new classes of low-cost medical diagnostic tools, wirelessly powered sticker sensors to measure air pollution, or clothing with health monitoring capabilities. Metals have been printed onto fabrics, but until now, the process has essentially coated the fabrics with plastic, which renders the fabric waterproof and brittle. A new approach would allow metal inks to cover entire fibers rather than simply coating the surface of the fabric. To coat the fibers, the researchers first covered them in microscopic particles of silicon and then submerged the material into a solution containing metal ions. This preparatory process allows metals to grow throughout the material as the ions are deposited on the silicon particles. Sensors fabricated within natural fibers would be cheaper, easy to store and transport, and ultimately could be used in clothing that monitors health. Police in Japan on Tuesday arrested 4 African men on suspicion of what is called international romance fraud, allegedly targeting women hoping to get married. The suspects are 3 Nigerians and a Cameroonian, all living in eastern Japan. Investigators say 2 of them defrauded a 59-year-old woman from Fukuoka Prefecture out of about $60,000 last year. They got to know the woman via social media while pretending to be U.S. military servicemen and implied an interest in marriage. The men demanded money from her, saying they needed it to be discharged from the military. Investigators also say the other 2 suspects cheated women by pretending to be a medical doctor and a lawyer. Police on Tuesday raided several sites, including a building near Tokyo that is believed to be their base of operations. International romance fraud reportedly targets women who dream of dating or marrying foreigners. In some cases, the perpetrators use fake IDs to make women believe they are legitimate. A team of researchers at Imperial College London and UCL have recently developed a new method to authenticate honey using machine learning and microscopy. Their technique could detect diluted or mislabeled honey at a far lower cost than existing methods. Honey is produced by bees after they collect nectar from flowers, break it down into simple sugars, and store it inside honeycombs. Honey is currently the 3rd most counterfeited food product globally. It's often mislabeled, which entails selling one type of honey for another, or is diluted with other substances, such as sugar syrup. Honey is made by bees from plants. Plants have pollen, and each plant has a different pollen. If Manuka honey, for instance, has no Manuka pollen, or no pollen at all, then it's not Manuka honey. Melisophylinology, authenticating honey from its botanical sources, has been around for a good few decades, with a reputation of being a slow and specialist process. Most honey authentication procedures are carried out in labs by specialists and require specialized equipment, hence they are often very expensive. With the new method to authenticate honey, using machine learning augmented microscopy could be far cheaper than existing procedures. General Mills announced today a voluntary national recall of 5-pound bags of gold medal unbleached flour with a better if used by date of April 20th, 2020. The recall is being issued for the potential presence of salmonella, which was discovered during sampling of the 5-pound bag product. This recall is being issued out of an abundance of care, as General Mills has not received any direct consumer reports of confirmed illnesses related to this product. This recall only affects this one date code of gold medal unbleached flour 5-pound bags. All other types of gold medal flour are not affected by this recall. Consumers are reminded that flour is not a ready-to-eat ingredient and are asked to check their pantries and dispose of the product affected by this recall. Anything you make with flour must be cooked or baked before eating. Consumers should refrain from consuming any raw products made with flour. Salmonella is killed by heat through baking, frying, sautéing, or boiling products made with flour. All surfaces, hands, and utensils should be properly cleaned after contact with flour or dough. This voluntary recall includes the following code date currently in stores or consumers' pantries: Gold Medal Unbleached All-Purpose 5-Pound Flour, package UPC 000-16000-19610-0, recalled better if used by date 20 April 2020 KC. The world's oldest man has died at his home, a hot springs inn, in northern Japan at the age of 113. His family said Masazo Nonaka died in the early hours of Sunday, January 20th, while sleeping at home on Japan's northern main island of Hokkaido. The family said he died peacefully from natural causes. The supercentenarian, whose family has run a hot springs inn for 4 generations, was certified last year as the world's oldest living man at 112 years and 259 days. Born on July 25, 1905, Nonaka grew up in a large family and succeeded his parents running the inn, which is now run by his granddaughter. He has outlived his wife and 3 of his 5 children. Turning to birthdays for today, January 26th. Wayne Gretzky turns 58. Wayne is a Canadian former professional ice hockey player and former head coach. He played 20 seasons in the National Hockey League for 4 teams from 1979 to 1999. He is the leading scorer in NHL history, with more goals and assists than any other player. Anita Baker is 61 today. Anita is an American singer-songwriter regarded as one of the most popular singers of soulful romantic ballads in the 1980s. As of 2017, she has won 8 Grammy Awards and has 5 platinum albums and 1 gold album. Her vocal range is contralto. Bob Uecker is 85 today. Bob is an American former Major League Baseball player and current sportscaster, comedian, and actor. He made some 100 guest appearances on Johnny Carson's Tonight Show, and from 1985 to 1990 he played the character of father and sports writer George Owens on the sitcom Mr. Belvedere. Eddie Van Halen is 64. Eddie is a musician, songwriter, and producer. He's the main songwriter and founder, with brother and drummer Alex Van Halen, bassist Mark Stone, and singer David Lee Roth of the American hard rock band Van Halen. Japan's meteorological agency says at least 21 volcanoes across the country are at risk of erupting at craters other than those that are being closely monitored. The agency surveyed volcanoes after Mount Kusatsu north of Tokyo erupted unexpectedly last year on January 23rd. 1 self-defense force member died and 11 people were injured. The eruption at Mount Kusatsu Shirane occurred at a crater about 2 kilometers away from the one that was being watched closely. Agency officials subsequently studied in detail the locations of eruptions in the past 10,000 years at 50 volcanoes that have been monitored around the clock. They found at least 21 volcanoes at risk of erupting at craters other than those that have been under watch by security cameras or have been subject to disaster preparedness plans. The meteorological agency says it will set up monitoring by installing new cameras at 7 of those volcanoes and by using devices such as webcams set up by municipalities and other groups. Caution must be exercised even at craters that had been thought unlikely to erupt. What happened on this date, January 26th? The 1531 Lisbon earthquake occurred in the Kingdom of Portugal in the morning between 4 and 5 o'clock. The earthquake and subsequent tsunami resulted in approximately 30,000 deaths. Treaty of Karlowitz was signed in 1699. It was a peace settlement that ended hostilities between the Ottoman Empire and the Holy League and transferred Transylvania and much of Hungary from Turkish control to Austrian. The treaty significantly diminished Turkish influence in East Central Europe and made Austria the dominant power there. The 1700 Cascadia earthquake occurred along a 600-mile stretch between Vancouver Island, British Columbia, and Northern California, with an estimated magnitude of 9. The earthquake caused a tsunami which struck the coast of Japan. The Dukes of Hazzard, an American action comedy television series, aired on CBS in 1979. The show aired for a total of 147 episodes. Here is a W.A.R.N report summary: announced job layoffs and closures for January 2019 in California. On January 26th, Baked in the Sun in Vista has a permanent closure affecting 211 employees. January 27th, NationStar Mortgage LLC, doing business as Mr. Cooper in Santa Ana, will permanently lay off 109. January 28th, Honeywell Aerospace in Garden Grove will have a permanent closure affecting 70 employees. January 29th, Deluxe Entertainment Services Group, Inc. in Burbank will lay off 58 employees. Also, on January 31st, Yosemite Meat Company, Inc. in Modesto will close permanently, laying off 188 employees. Toby.com LLC in South San will close permanently, laying off 62. Murrieta YMCA in Murrieta will lay off 49. WWL Vehicle Services Americas in Wilmington will lay off 136, and HMS Host in Oakland will lay off 204.